So this is that means we build the JavaScript functions, very simple JavaScript functions, and with the coordinate points, and then with additional features, additional styling and CSS function inside the JavaScript functions. You see the dynamic station, link layers, and then so on and so forth. It works. That's I said. That's I said. It is a professional way to do, but you have to be a basic understanding with JavaScript functionality. That's I said. I cannot promise you when I finish it this one to give it to you some basic understanding the JavaScript from JavaScript based programming. And I try my best to come up find some times to give it to you. And this is the because I say this the professionals, you can really segregate your source code, or you divide your own JavaScript functions, integrate those functions into your web pages. So go back to the web page, that I mean. So you see have all the JavaScript functions. That's you see the JavaScript function here, and then you can integrate those JavaScript functions by like this way. So that means you have all the other third party. This is the OpenLayers JavaScript library into the your project structure. That's I already talk about that one. And then you have some jQuery library and package the ping pack library, the graph library, and the default styling. And this is your own JavaScript libraries. The functions that you try to build your own custom JavaScript library and integrate those library into the your page. That means if you published this JavaScript library for your end clients or any someone, then they can just call it your library and build what they would like to do. They would try to build your points, line, polygons, or whatever it is. Because you wrote down your own JavaScript function. That is not the bad way into the inside the HTML page. Just you simply call the functions. You write down independently your JavaScript functions, call it, and build what you need or what you understand. That's why I said it is really difficult to understand for the very beginner. But if you get it really properly, that's I promise this is the really professional way to do. If you get it really, and you can get really very quickly really good jobs and secure jobs for as a geoinformatics or geo programmer or GIS programming and career to build, because you need to really clearly understand what and how can you segregate your functionality and features and functionalities with different software layers. That's I mean that this level. And this is, you see that you have the own CSS, own stylings, the CSS classes. That if I go to the project structure, then let's say my map client CSS. If you say the map client CSS, maybe there is a CSS classes, the map client CSS. That's I mean here, very simple CSS, map client CSS. And then you can integrate those CSS, what you like to color change, font change, or even though the line style change, all things is possible to do. So you have own CSS styles and integrate those CSS like this way and use it. That's so you have some mobility, the mobility features. That's what I will talk about detail about that one. And then mobility features, and then you have a graph functionality. See the graph functionalities, and then so on so forth, those things. So let's have a unload the test classes and go to our project structure. So click on the stations, and then you have a print functionalities. Also you see the words are very simple Windows print functionalities. That's I am here looking for the print functionality. You can print it in these projects, and you can preview it how it look like and send to the your end client. Or this is our initial printing or initial idea to print it, and you can have different PDF and then save as a PDF format, and then after the printing those information and with the flags this information. That's the functionalities that I mean. So so what I mean, let's see the project structure again. So you see the project structure, okay, everything perfect. Then all the dependency, the additional dependency, and then this is your own libraries that I already show you, already talk about that one. You can here see that the difference between two libraries, 2 points, you can also calculate the distance between 2 points, the projections points, and then calculate distance from point 1 to point 2. That's the calculation distance. If you try to calculate the distance, you can calculate the distance, because that's I said, this is your own functions. You can write down it and it return it what you want to do, what you want to write down the distance between the two points. But at the moment I didn't have add these features, but you can do all calculation, area measurement, distance measurements, or buffering measurements, or it is 3D forms. You can calculate the volumes also depending on your features or your requirements. So, and there's many examples is here. So I already put it all the maps, the all functionalities. You see the OSM, Google Map templates, template JavaScript library. You can go this template JavaScript library is one library. You can call it everything. This is the most important one, the OSM and OpenStreetMap and Google template libraries. So it's call it central coordinates points where located, and so on and so forth, and then all the zoom in zoom out functionalities and general control of the maps, meaning that use of measurement calculation, area coverage calculation, so on and so forth, all together it works properly. What I mean, the area control, general area control, this is the area general, the editing features, like you can dynamically build your polyline polygons, and you can record it those coordinate points, and then after that you can build some JSON or GeoJSON and build other applications. That's I already talk about this one other application with Angular or Java or TypeScript, on depending which technology stack you try to develop. You can maybe integrate those things in your projects. So all features is there, just you need to be clearly understand what I mean, how can you build the project structure, and then you see the same. I have different functionalities for the different cases here. If you see the other use cases that I already talk about, this is the one of the use cases for my student projects. And even though you can call the some GeoServer services call, that's not finished yet here, these projects, but you can also call the GeoServer functionality into your web pages. It still works. It still is possible to call it and then run it GeoServer, and then you can build the GeoServer functionalities into your very simple HTML pages. Just you can look for that one, because the source code in the GitHub, and then you can add it, and if you find some difficulties, you can even though add it just and ask me to give some solutions or some ideas if you have a problem with that one. So this is the one of the many examples is inside the project structure and the projects, but I am interested there to give it to you. That's how these projects, how this one works for my mobile GM, for the GSM communication. How can the mobile station located, how can it buffer it, how can you put it pop up the necessary information into mobile stations, and then so on and so forth. Those things, it's possible to do it. So that means it's you got it, the clear idea what I mean, how it works, and then you need to be understand, and you need to be really clear understanding how can you write down your how can you write down your own JavaScript functions, and with all the necessary business logic. That's I said here, the business logic here for plotting dynamically your point line polygons, and the necessary plotting information to your HTML page. That's this all things together. So this is the most important one. You see the pop-up, that's I show you. This is the really programmatically build the pop-ups. You can basically this data is coming from the database or any REST services call. because those who have no knowledge about how the REST service works, how the web service communication work, that's why I put it here, some static examples. How can you pop up and how can you render those data into the